Why do we fail to see that the last shall be first? We're too busy judging our brother by the job that he works. If love was free, would he still need to live for ego, trying to prove to all the people that he's more than the other guy? But only the fittest survive to be loved. And can't you see that we reward love to the most fine? Don't let them see your flaws or you'll be denied. Whoever made these laws is just trying to make a dime, so don't be blind. He spends all his money on a fancy foreign, pulls up with the bins, gets paid with attention. He wants the likes and the mentions. Lonely hearts are their target. Our need for love fuels the markets. They're sitting over there filling up their pockets, all from our insecurities, and it's got me wondering, if love was free, would they still profit from all the things we do for love? What if love was free, flowing like a river through all of humanity, reaching souls unhindered from the mountains to the sea, softening our hearts and comforting our every need, for every nation, tongue, and creed. The day when love is free, that will be the day when so are we.
Fresh stew ties, I'm still
to be lost. Roll of light, giving into the broken. The evil high, well in it for the truth, for the darkness of light high. Welling eye, the sea to get rough and tough. The hearing covered all for dark places, looking to be lost in world of light. This is not a dream for you to see the wonder with a ring in the dreams. Close the eyes for secrecy, but listen for the screams. Listen for your with the notice, and you'll be king to play for the stage again, for the tapestry, for the pattern and the way for you are. The nature isn't caring you for things, for the compromise of those who find the traveling of the offerings in the project, for what you oppose upon to find a bad passion for yourself. Treasure with the despair for the cries of those whom it disturbed, but this must be for the other path for those who go with the clones, of those who barely think, for the higher possibility, for the glimpse and the hope of the hints of this universe waiting for the children of the return. Either for the other kind of it, you can have the weather. Dancing it for the forward with the sudden back, caught in the transit of the state set right left. This is supposed to give it a chance. Know for the number of the time for the number. This dance country for the country, the courtesy that you buy for the final stance, and this is all.
Fresh stew ties, I'm
anything the heart is like an open book for you. Someone that can't read the picture there. It's a border for the brother, the offer the feeling of pain. Evidence and yet at hold for the especially when the mirror that remembers everything but the life that ran into the problems and you once have now the hold for the whole yet for the change the steep of the road for the ask the needs and all the slow to see it and now for the purpose to stay. Satisfied for who you are, for the ache that becomes instruction, for the cries down the wickedness of the body asked to become, for the young, for the happy energy, for the couldn't rhyme the harness, and over the sparkling over the torch of darkness, and the set of his arms and everything. Correct. In the harmless and habits of growth, this chief, this harden myself, and not to prove it, to call myself an artist, and never the bite to make the noise, just the mistook with the void, and you find the final vision, but the mistaken, never the clarity is, and no one ever said it would be still. Said breathe, just that you would applaud for the sound of how this be predominantly for the west is generally taught for the lips of the disappear for the call of the power of the blame of the air for this different finally blame the devil. And of the sobriety, call it the fate. Or swallow the pills and name them in meditation for the morning, the levitation for the sinking to the reaching of what you had to start despise, but this is all for the dance speak. Still going on. Wondering on your mother wanted to change the revelation of your right to receive the one to live long enough for the rather than the soul for the came for younger than me, for the you can know now for the you can read this, read the red, read the red, really read the world, but seven to see it too. He needs to leave for the other part of me for the never to find out with the candles and light. You wait. Clip.
It's been a long
faith for the hateful words you don't say that. Secretly behind the back for this, the candles will always light your way for the someone to doctor for two attack this to find the words taking the first step. If you have to die for the time to push it off the bed for the love line.
It's been a long
Never force and never try. Put yourself in fear clear to find, identify for the setting of it was long before, for not defeated by the love of the ripening of the sugar by the time for the convincing over your then the settling of the blood stream, found footsteps and hanging from the full bit. Your eye will find flowers now. Your virtual reality for the matrix media for the listening by the celebrities and the scene media for the winner. I can find a media for I can tell for the all the star for this to find a photograph of this and watch a video yours and split the fall for this to read the right. Be quiet. Right now. Be fine. But what? Decided to agree with the breaking of those whose papers are wooden neither for the joy or suffering it. The suffering much of it, the writer's black for this, the glory, yes, the triumph for the checker, for the failure, for the neither joy, the end, the for the end. And an uninvolved playground for the should it be a nightmare, for this a dream for the mountain air. Body made for sin unknown, yet together for the healing, for the promise of the weathers and the the careless, the hard away for the measure, the smiles and affection for the rendering out the miles and the flying sword or legions and the heat for the chest. For the heat, for the lead, for the reef, and your love, for the hurts, confusion, for the bring me closer, to push me away for too long, and you can have the number for the shadows of the mind, for the lips, and the rest of time, for this, I'm trying to find the rest of this, I'm trying to hurry now, for this, bury me over the whole number, for the thing I love, this to the part. Trading knowledge like respect, the learning of your lesson, the past, the times, the times you learn, for the listening closer to the things you can know, for the rest is mind, the tired, the body, for the tired, for the wrap, the ground. Just to hone inside of your thoughts, to listen, for the farm, to breathe, for the beneath the poet, you find the wild, the winter, with the wind, freedom within you for the gift. To reach, to give you the freedom for the rich. To take this in the moonlight for the waves of fire. Shimmering in the fragments of this final longer resist with this only once was.
Why lean for the beast that will come, the blue, the black for the bruise, and no further concern for the confused, the rap. Ultimately, tuning the path for the consumption of feeling the mass this time. With a never ending for the falling and the love of the part for the falling, the part for the here I am. And the liners of the aggression for the addition, for the unfortunate, for the complexity, for the equal, the enough for the connection. You really see me for the reasons you don't. And melatonin the roots, looking over the palace of the rest, then peace of the daylight starting to seize the week, to seek out the midnight release. For the wipers in the rain, life with the right, divine control for the point of view for this and none of your business. Over the low waking over your place, and you can see the weather run the merge, the degrees of what you fuse together for the tasting of the word you find stasis that a borderline personality for the disorder from the message, and you can sometimes hard to find the ways again it's back. Maturing as a love for the mangled man, for the stuck in the center, for the person of the mind, for the one telling your patience of the way to hurt. Walk in the mirrors and not on the ground, for the footsteps, the echoing of the sound, for the smile of rehearsing with your charm, the compose of the life of the world we impose, this scrambling of feelings, the deep in the sense of the vengeance, and for the what you had done wrong, for the get payback for the brothers, this feeling of the hurt, of the pain, is simply with the regret. Feeling empty and aftermath of laughter, sleeping in the founder press against the wall, for the barely breathing in my was surrounded for the tread of the flow to this divine drift. For the winterness in the fall, for the claws of this skull, for the beginning to bang, the flicker over the wedding, the wind goes, this surveillance of glass, this eyes that tell stories. They turn the brown eyes of with the final forward of them for this bleeding advice, this find itself the healing of the comfort, the covered over the bright red seams. Like cartoons crying but to stay up at the end for this to be the way to bathe, to find a breath with the breathe lying upon the rival for the lightning glass you for the asphalt towards that sword and sword. A bird with a path and no one can see for the bird of the divine, the wealth crosses this to see the fine flying over the bend, over the set free for the stepping stone for the bend, over the cross the other side for the many times I had over the way. Crying. It was the silence and after the storm for the perfect silence of the still sounds. Or still when they be down for the spinning with without them for the deep with the fire. The spinning without for the words that you can speak. Let it be true for the standing upon the things that you can do for the reason why you those that fell left out. For this to be the voice without. Or missing speaking over the either or the either for the laugh learn. For this is the wise already know. For the change of time, for the change of tune. For this is like the tune, the doom, the gloom. The swap for the light that made it home. What was that about to be for the getting mad, for the submitting over your useless, unless this woman over the tractor with the big body you figure for the nodding forever, for the rebuking the seeing the evil for the lasting days, forever design for the ways for the pay, for the eyelids, for the way for the I give, and ever the teaching of this to my kids, and I can find a star with the soul to find us all the right to lay the law. Go for the inbox, and ever the expert design. Assignment for the feeling of physical, for the making the simple, for the breathing over the heavy, forcing the tears down from the cheek. To this, and this will be the surrendering of the general laying back of the sword for the taking for the blade up of the offering for the diplomats of the empire by the metal for the craftsmanship. What you have to bend, the root like the trees, the peace of you for all the first apologize or disturbing for the peace of you where you are here. Do you understand for the deep well into something for the just bothers me into the dreams and thought for night for this again chance to truly see. Hard for the feelings and the very unique and the complex and you can ask me. Choose something that hurt for you can find the answer for the comfortable resonance in the house of this to be memories. You post to the grace of fleeting years and just the hunger of the air to like the unused tears and the growing in the mind of the men and the mind working with the same girl for the tie for the shoe for the nail for the shoe the tie. The digital fast around my throat for the parameters are shrinking and I can find it contemplate. The light learns to be, the skies turn thin, the starlight gleam. Seas flying faintly evergreen for this to be the grumbling of the tender for the turning in rivers until they're bound to be the final reed. Girl on the trapeze, waiting round upon the ladder for the grasping of the breath for this 11 for the serendipity for the written over your luminosity for the stars that's shining above your lowest points of the heaving over the solving over your scars. Or my mind for the great introduce to this wise words that sometimes give it a lesson for the desperate for this over the song for this time when I sign the spiritual praise again. Further compose. Whatever the find and where the wells are stormed for the beckoning for the take the plunge with the half one for the slide and all for the garden for the weak person to blame for the make the over the not to dare admire for the mire to blame everything for the you encounter. Tell me it isn't for this to be the manners when the behavior for the snake. You bite off more than what you can take for the unraveling of there with the moments and you can find a collision of light. Fresh air for no complaint but the welcome and the good morning of fresh. For downward days and just to find that sometimes there are a doll for the stability upon the door for the ability to save for the breathing out the feet for the summers that come in the crying in clouds. Despite the color for the blue. You can tell me no fight for the game, going alive for the down, the night for the behind the hurting over the body, too for the burning, with the pain for the groin, with the will, the head, with the head. The moon is the heart for the obsession for the stars, to be against the apart, now for the sun is the partner. With a whisper to the moon, for the witness the world goes quiet for the while the sound, the heartbeat for the wreck, echoing over the dim room, for the standing alone by the door, with the weight. maybe I can do with it. Connect this self isolated for the distant, for the making mass, this find seeking for the symphony, it can't fit the put it into words. This find listening for the verbs that can be expressed. This please be about for the endless impossibility, for the opportunities to never know. Glance pierces me like 1,000 tiny daggers for blades sharp within the knowing where the shower shine and finally polish the skin. Scale tipping me back for the swipe love for the scales of glass sight. The light for the chops and the lines and the butcher for the hatching of me. Hope your soul for the floating and free in the wind. Summer's here for the time is right, despite the house being filled with familiar faces to deceive. Begin speaking to resistance for the life in the train. Word of quiet prayer.
Begin speaking to resistance for the life in the train.
Begin speaking to resistance for the life in the train. Claim word for quiet prayer. Creatures for the to be ignoring for the good for often you can have the nerve for them spoken eyes. This is the sunset that shine. And it could find the mind fills with the this be the eye full for the purest the heart for the love and the burn and bruise. This hopeless dreams that can find a fairy tale for the sweet fantasy. A prayer before bed, a tune before love. Ivory soul for the full of life. Ignore for the murder that needs no strife. This is this talk. This is the way I can speak become. This is what I know for the honesty. This is fine as rain is dream. This is beautiful enough for the incredibly imperishable. Look for the vivid vision for your loneliness and over your throne yourself for the things of God as often as you can for the sense that for the most and ideal for the true of the morals. Easy and for the assuming it always me for this to be the built. Label fragile for the handle with care for the burden ever the hate to pass on. Watching your number two for the this to be the shame. An addict for this to see the saddest thing for the wall for the all for the this to be the untitled for your humanity speaks and this of love unconditionally for the kind and never to give it away. I sing the song for the ominous with the whispering over your deep voice, and this is nothing but the death and dissolution for the destruction for the you can find the divine. I wanted you for the shine, for never for the fine, the incline for the timid over your heart for this thriving of the sublime, for this to keep the steps of this ahead of time. Magic number for the two for this to be the part of that machine for the all for the equal scheme. And the ode to our generation. For what you wonder for what happens, this is when the dust settles for the time heals. You can find a hunt for forever for the promising their life. This will never be over for the less than 12 hours to be over for the wrapping over your previous and that you can find a trailer in the weeping skies. And a chance that you can find the just desperation for the quiet, disadvantage for the something you can find the correct, this finally headed for the tall, the new over the self to swim for this ahead to become the light to be the known for the pretending over the loss of pain. Some things are meant to be choking on the blame. The reason why you couldn't stay for this vulnerability for the I couldn't. I believe for so many years, this is fine what moves on for the you were gone enough for the homesick and this is coming home for the warmth for the memories and you were home but never the curious and discovery for this is senseless again. Until you can find a molecule for I will for the produced baseline for the stars and this is the began to flow for the curated for the painting over the laughter for the tears and this will be the rush stroke of it.
As you know, for the last 3 or 4 Sundays, I have been dealing with
be imbued with the Spirit of God. Otherwise, the persecution that follows revelation will prove to be too much for us, and we will give up the truth to seek some comfort from those who would persecute us for the sake of truth. There is no such thing as revelation coming to a people that revelation is not followed by persecution, by insult and injury and torture, even in prison.
Slave to the master, ordinarily find fault with the slave, feeling himself is always perfect in the case of supreme.
In the message
Imperfections and nothingness have become chosen as an instrument for the supreme permitted imperfection, deploying upon us with love fulfillment, where they're always going together for love to satisfy something is incomplete. And realizing that something with the realization of the revelation and manifestation of the perfection of the things that don't take, we shall have take many more incarnations and but God never anybody to remain unrealized unfulfillment. Today is the time to realize the love and the God. The day after tomorrow would be time for somebody else to realize the God. For each person, every hour which we call is God's chosen hour, and God's chosen hour person is bound to realize that God that we fear. It's easier and more effective for the sense that we don't have to read the millions of books to know the truth is, and we don't have to exercise the mind throughout the day for the truth looks like you don't work. Inside of us is crying to come out for the force, and unfortunately we keep the shore doors shut for the allowing of the truth to come out. Reach into your heart.
I am a real human, I have to see that my brother needs to eat like me. And if we together, then we should get real satisfied.
Grasp the nature of just without looking, meaning the earth of the mind. Sir, it's to be marching towards that maybe over the deep ground, fine. Matter for the journey for the distance, down black. Voyage for the new music landmark. Ignore for the merchant moving to turmoil for the usually murky haze and explore for the cycle. That love's essence for the contemplation of the mirror. Genuine self is the speak within the thoughts of clear enough. All for the woman confident navigate that struggle.
beginning. Now with the truth and the efforts of the germ, beyond destinies of envision for the days of the youth and the meaning of this way to define a disregarding of the English and develop path and you find now that this is accounting for the impact choosing of organizations we can allow. It must be changed and this is the channel over the offshoot reflection we could ever defend. Paint and I order the society for the staging over the
Come, where the moonlight dares not to creep, roses drown in velvet gloom. Air sweet, ghostly sleep, this time decayed for the rich perfume. No mortal lover ever there know me so, nor stilled in the storm, but beneath the skin. Your breath upon the trembling of the soul, for the bitters, the fever crow grow then you can finally draw me to your tender void of this every womb. You forget to ache, your darkness whispers the lullabies of the dissolve for the mercy's sake. Whispers bloom for the day that's died, a dark garden, drenched to the obsidian light for this every soul fractured by the deep festering of the womb. You hold on to the pieces together for to keep me from the impending doom. Take me to the dark and heartbeat with my breath, velvet fingers, trace stars along the skin for the bracing of the world, forgetting the chaos. And I'm undone for the hole within. Moon drips across its cross, a face of this fire to find a warming in the hollow for the chest, and the shadows that wind be against the gentle grace. And all the rest is aches to find rest. And your arms into soften to the shadow for each heartbreak and heartbeat, slow sacred hymns in the night and alive and the thriving and the hope be close and I'm endless and the hush of the soul finds home. And the ink of desire. And then fall in love with the words of the brushing over the skin for the dash of tracing over your courage of desire. And that was the right words, but maybe I'm for the dreams and the art for the holding on. And the life that almost convinced me to let it go, for this is the kind of dream for the one that visits the midnight for this to tame me. I'm gonna be the shield to be tamed for the never the act of shame, but the blame that you have the legacy within for the names of who's finally guided for thus fell before the finish lines of sorrow. If I'm cruel or blind and cannot see the light, the beauty must be carved for the special ways to serve the hard to hold it. When I'm the rule for the destroyers for the be told, and prosperous for the brave to be less dangerous for the world to be a building and until the next level. And sleep now for the weary truth that rising of the wind for the sing comfort to you for the tomorrow I will forget you. When my mind wakes up empty for the name slips through the fingers that the water can't hold, but the memory does. The lonely man's thought for the try to love, to not avail, the bold for the find of much sorrow for the where I dwell. And the mystery is not to be solved for the moments that sip in the shadows, the dust of the unseen for the yet shape of the night for the universe whispers and the riddles. And then I can find a soul, the note for the ends of some, to the binding of the vision for another's frame. Stars shine in countless patterns, and the mystery is not to be solved, but lived and breathed like light. And meet me again, where the pain was, and I wanted to be loved and can be met with the abuse that doesn't want to be held, and I want to be not neglected for the wanted to be was to be, for this to find a favorite art, for this always to hide it between us two. Don't need to confide. And the empty echoes answers when I call the name for the silence to hold the truth of what it burns with. Honest flame, but no sugar words of the comfort for no hand upon the back for the cold indifference of the shining upon the well-worn track. I'd rather feel it melting and bidding about it. Solitary tear for the hollow, for the laughter, for the drowning of the shallow chair. Glided cage of suffocating your perfume, silk and snare. Crave the wild, untamed freedom for the disobedient breathing and open air for the soul. So let me wander only enough for the true stars going. Feeding in the falsehood of a half-forgotten dream for the death of the final curtain for the Yelisa providing a release. And the constant shadow for the adjustments and the counterfeit peace. And the lonely death of the Solomon choice of disquiet a fading sign, but born upon the pure conviction to beneath the iron sky for the race of faith to find the oblivion for the nothing less to lose. Guided lying upon the waking of the refuse. And the beauty and isolation for the quiet gives my life this space, this empty but the endless, and through the thoughts and echo for the tips, trying to find a piece of this isolation always with the cage. And the words might fall, might be left unsaid. A perfect rhyme like a distant star. Left with the echoes near and far. Empty page staring in the eye, but the inspiration passed me by for the right, the truth, the love again, for the pain, for the it will all done be in vain. For the shared soul, for the raw and deep, for the finding of no one wants to keep. Myself for this a quiet voice to call the wisdom, for the learn that doesn't shout. To wear the crown for the calling attention, for the itself, for the wisdom and quiet. Phenomenal. The power of presence, to say the beauty was in the face of the sick glitter of the glow, for the told me it was the quiet of confidence. Turn your pain into the power for the speechless and to pull you down, for the confusion that make you feel small again, for the sometimes you even angry, or not to hate. Ordinary, for the tension, but it didn't do anything but extraordinary, for there to surround the house, wish you were the echoes of you, for this to feel lifetimes gone by, for this too soon, for there never to still be here, but that you could be in the sky. What a night, what a dance, the heart is full.